Hello and welcome to this episode of Life Exchange Stories of Understanding. I'm your host, Kelsey Ross, and today we've got a great special guest here with us. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi, everybody. My name's Margot Hoffman. I'm 15 years old, and I'm currently doing my exchange year in Germany. I'm from the US.
And to some of our listeners, Margot may look familiar as she recently did a takeover of the YFU USA Instagram. What was that experience like for you? You posted a ton of great content.
Thank you. Yes, it was really cool for me. Honestly, I had never done anything like that before. Totally new for me. I'm actually fairly new to social media in general, so it was a little bit like out of my comfort zone. But once again, like that's what exchange is about. But yeah, it was really fun just getting to take everybody throughout my day and kind of seeing what people were more interested in, what people weren't interested in, what sort of questions people had just about life in Germany, and just kind of seeing what sort of outreach YFU has to people. It was really cool.
I'm so glad you enjoyed yourself. I know I enjoyed watching every bit of content you created, and you had questions coming in left, right, and center. People were so interested in your story. So, to begin, how did the idea of exchange first happen for you?
Wow. Okay. So it's really hard to sort of pinpoint a specific time. Both of my parents did exchanges, but neither of them did a full year. And they've always kind of encouraged me to go out of my comfort zone and explore things. So when my father went to Germany for a week for sort of an exchange thing, and he found out about the CBYX program, the program that I'm on right now, he said I should try it out. And I looked into it a little bit and I decided that I should maybe try an exchange. I had never really had fully considered it because I don't know. I don't think anybody really considers an exchange year their freshman year. But yeah, it came up and I decided to apply and now I'm here.
That is so cool. And for those of our listeners who may not know what the CBYX program is, could you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, of course. So CBYX stands for Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange, and it's a program, a joint program run between the German Bundestag and the US Congress. And it's a scholarship, everything included, where Americans can go to Germany for a year, and then Germans come to the US for a year.
And what was the application and what was the application process like? And how did you find out that you were selected?
Yeah, so the application process was, I would say, sort of like any other application like college or if you're applying to a school. I had to do a couple essays, I had to get some teacher recommendations and fill out some permission forms, things like that. Relatively easy to fill out, but definitely you need to know sort of what your academics are like and know how to write a good essay. And I found out that I was a semifinalist in the beginning of January, and I had to do an interview, fill out some more paperwork just to make sure that everything was good. And I got notified in early March that
Mhm.
I was a finalist. Very funny story. I was with my school on a class trip to Universal Studios, and I found out that I got accepted right next to the night bus from Harry Potter World. Yeah,
What?
so that's a moment that will stick with me forever for sure.
Oh my gosh. Weird coincidence. Today that we're recording is apparently International Harry Potter Day.
Oh,
So
really?
that's wild, according to my Windows notification. So I
Oh,
wouldn't
well,
quote me on that
perfect.
one. But so from the time you applied to finding out in March that you were selected, how long was that waiting period and process for you?
I wanna say I finished my application in October.
Mhm.
I'm not entirely sure exactly the dates anymore because
That's
it was a little while ago. But October to March, that's 6
not bad.
months
Not
about. No,
bad.
it's
Yeah.
pretty easy, yeah. Um, Honestly, when you get notified for semifinalists, then everything goes so much faster after that. It's like, wow. oh my gosh, I'm actually doing this.
Where did you discover the CBYX program? You had mentioned your parents were exchange students. Were one of them potentially CBYX scholars, or?
So they weren't, but as I said, my dad was in Germany for a couple
Mhm.
weeks, and he had met somebody that had done this program, and they talked to him a little bit about it. Yeah, and I do know a couple of other people that have applied, but I didn't know that they had applied until after I started my application.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
So generally, when we think about study abroad in American culture, that's generally something you hear of college students doing that. And here you are, a high school freshman doing this. Why why go on exchange in high school?
I think it's such a cool experience to be able to see another country from the view of sort of not college, so just in school. I feel like you can kind of get a really interesting perspective of seeing kids, teenagers, you get to see teenage life, that you just normally wouldn't get to see if you did a college tour. Um, I mean, I've gotten to see people do their end of year programs, so their senior pranks and things like that. And it's really cool to be able to see that from such a different perspective than you would get to see at a college.
Very, very interesting insight there. That's so cool. So, what you found out you're a finalist after finishing your trip at Universal Studios with your class.
Mhm.
Um, and it's go time. You got to get ready to prepare. So, how did you prepare to go to Germany and study abroad?
So I had never taken German before I
Really?
started this application. So the first thing I did was I got on Duolingo. I got on maybe not the best study app, but I got on Duolingo. I started trying to learn some vocab, just kind of learning about German culture.
Mhm.
Um, of course, also kind of prepping my family for me to leave, and also myself, just kind of for the idea of being away from home. I started also trying to, I don't know, pack for Germany, although that was maybe a little too early to start packing. And also reaching out to other exchange students.
Mhm.
I got social media so I could try and find other people. And I found a really cool community here. Yeah.
Duolingo is an yeah, maybe not the best app for conversational, but it at least is the most entertaining. So
It
I'll
is.
give
It's
them
really
that.
fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I speaking of which, I'm pretty sure I've got the Duolingo bird threatening me as we speak to do my
I
Spanish
didn't finish
lessons.
mine. Yeah.
And so did you have any expectations of what Germany would be like? Maybe from talking to your dad about his experience before you got there?
I had ideas,
Mhm.
but to be honest, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I know people here or people in the US always think of Germany as sort of Oktoberfest and
Mhm.
beer and Bayern and just, the Southern German things.
Mhm.
But my dad had been in Berlin and he
Oh.
told me a little bit more about Berlin and the museums and the history. So I wasn't fully sure just exactly what to expect just because it's actually quite a large country.
So then you're prepared, you've got your tickets, you find out who your host family is, you're on the plane, and you land in Germany. What was your first impression of Germany and your host family?
My first impression of Germany was actually kind of with other Americans
Mhm.
because my first month in Germany was at sort of a language camp with
Mhm.
50 other Americans in this tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Germany. So I think that was just such a special experience because I got to see what Germany was like, sort of from a really local perspective, not with the other 50 Americans, but in the way of I kind of got to see a small town Germany. Um, and that was just really amazing to kind of also get that community sense with other people who are also new to Germany and to get that language aspect. And then I went down to southern Germany. My host family was in Baden-Württemberg, so very southern. And my first impressions were really good, but unfortunately things didn't work out with my first host family. So then things were a little rough for a bit, but overall my first impressions of Germany were really, really good.
Great. And it does happen for
Yeah.
unfortunately on occasion. You don't, the host family doesn't work out. You just don't quite mix, but then you find a new one. So
Yeah.
I assume you got placed with another host family, and was that experience any better for you?
Oh yes, YFU was so helpful being just helping me. Everybody was so helpful with finding a new host family and offering support and just helping me with that process because unfortunately it does happen and it is a long process, but everything worked out great. And my new host family is more amazing than I could ever ask for. They're so great. Yeah.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about them. What do you have host siblings that you get to spend time with? What are they like?
Yeah. So my I have two host sisters. The
Mhm.
youngest is 2 years old and the oldest just turned 9. Yes, and they are so sweet. I've learned a lot of German from them, and it's
Mhm.
just the best to have 2 little sisters. I had never had a sister before, so it was totally new experience for me. But yes, it's so great, and we play every day because 'cause they're still pretty young, so,
Yeah.
you play with them, and my host mom and my host dad are both also really amazing, and it's just really great. I feel at home.
That's so wonderful. It's so cool you get to try out being a sibling. That's something we hear every once in a while, but never get to hear it like this. It's so awesome.
Yeah, totally.
So, are there any traditions or customs that your host family has shared with you that you really want to embrace and really enjoyed?
So I think just everything that we did with Christmas was really, really cool for me
Yeah.
because Christmas in Germany is just so, so different. Um, we had a real Santa Claus come into our home and we had to play music for him. And
I bet your
then
little sisters love that.
that was really great. Yes. He brought his giant sack of presents with him, which was really interesting. I had never seen Santa before. Um, and there's also on December 6th, there's this thing called Nikolaustag, and that's basically where you put your shoes outside the door, and
Mhm.
then candy and presents show up magically overnight. And
Whoa.
so just really an interesting experience for me. And just a lot now that it's spring, there have been so many cool little traditions, painting Easter eggs, and um, we had just so many things. There are a lot of new festivals that I've been going to, music, films, and it's just, yeah, it's really cool to see the small little German festivals and things that happen.
That's awesome. Which one of the festivals that you've attended so far has been your favorite?
Okay. So there was one this past weekend that was sort of a spring festival, and it was just sort of a welcome into spring. And it was very simple, but I got to see the flowers, and they had a little parade with people going by and little stands in my town. And it was really sweet. It was also the first weekend where we've had like really spring weather. It was just, yeah, it was really cool.
I didn't ask which state you're from, but how is the weather compared to where you're from to Germany? Do you experience any difference?
Yeah, so I'm from Mississippi.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and so now I'm based in Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, which
Mhm.
is very northern Germany,
Okay.
and it's definitely very different because Mississippi is warm and humid and has very mild winters, but northern
Mhm.
Germany is sort of known for its, climate because it's really close to the ocean and there's a lot of water,
Oh.
and so it's definitely, right now, the weather's sort of more it's humid,
Mhm.
but it's more just mild. It's not as hot. It's not 95 degrees and sunny, you know? Yeah, so I've definitely the winter was also very different, very rainy up here. So yeah, I've noticed some differences, but overall, I mean, it's not a tropical climate. It's not so yeah.
Right. You're not chilling in an igloo in the Arctic Ocean or anything like
Yeah.
that. Well, that's good.
Right.
So, let's chat a little bit about what schooling in Germany is like and how that experience was for you. How did their education system in Germany compare to what you experienced in the United States?
Wow. So that was definitely one of the biggest culture shocks that I've had in Germany, just in general. First of all, Germany doesn't just have like elementary school and then high school. They
Mhm.
have elementary school and then specialized high schools. And I go
Okay.
to a gymnasium, which is a
Mhm.
high school that prepares you for your college degree.
Okay.
So you can go to university, which means that it's very intensive. It's I have heard it be compared to AP classes in the
Oh.
US, and it's just like all APs. But overall, people here just have a little bit more, I wouldn't say freedom, but there's just more time.
Mhm.
Um, there are bigger breaks between classes. So even if you have a heavy workload, it's pretty easy to just stay like caught up.
Mhm.
And the classes are hard, but the teachers are also very, very smart and very
Mhm.
willing to help you if you ask. And yeah, but with Germans, you have to ask. They won't be like, oh, do you need help? No, you have to ask for help.
Were you somebody who was already comfortable with asking for help, or was that a skill you had to develop while you were there?
It's definitely something that I've learned more
Mhm.
because back home, I was more of the person that was, oh, I have to figure it out myself. But being here has made me realize asking for help is also okay. And I've definitely learned how to be more comfortable with not always being right and not always having all the answers and just having to ask for help.
Is there a subject or a class that you've enjoyed more than other ones you've taken while there?
I think geography is really interesting for me because we're
Okay.
getting to learn a lot more about European geography, and I've just gotten to learn more about Germany as a
Mhm.
whole because of geography.
Cool.
I also think English class is very fun because it's the one time in the week where I can, speak some English. I've done some presentations in English.
Mhm.
And yeah, I just think honestly, all of them are really, really interesting. Maybe except for physics, because physics is not my forte. But
Very fair.
overall, they're all really interesting. Yeah.
That's so cool. And if I remember hearing from other students and their experience, the like extracurriculars and clubs and sports are not provided by schools in Germany. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Most schools are very much you're only in school,
Mhm.
and then what you do outside of school is up to you. Yeah, they're
Okay.
more sort of sport clubs and things like that.
Have you joined any sort of clubs after school to get out there and make more friends?
Technically, I've joined sort of a club, the only club that my school offers, which
Mhm.
is the orchestra. So I've been doing that.
Mhm.
My school is a music school as well, so it's a gymnasium that specializes in music. So I was lucky enough to be offered a position at the orchestra there, and so I've been enjoying that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, cool. What do you play?
So I play flute, and also piano, but right now just flute. Yeah.
Totally off topic, but I'm always incredibly jealous of people who can play flute. I physically cannot, and I really wanted to learn how. So I'm glad that you can, but I'm incredibly jealous of you. So, did you find it challenging at all to make friends while in your German school?
It is definitely a challenge.
Mhm.
To be quite honest, it has taken a long time to sort of finally get settled in. Um, I think it's also partly because I moved host families, so I was a
Mhm.
couple months or a month and a half or so later than originally planned. And it made it hard, but
Mhm.
I found a lot of friends through orchestra now, through trying to just get involved, and everybody in my class is so extremely nice. And even if it took me a while to be actual friends with them and go out with them after school, I still would say that they were extremely nice to me in class. And it wasn't like I was alone, it's just
Mhm.
in Germany, there's sort of a stage between being friends and knowing someone at school. And
Mhm.
it takes a little bit of time to kind of get over that.
That kind of in between period is a little different. You probably would say compared to making friends with United States high school students. Were there any other sort of cultures or customs that you experienced while you were in Germany that kind of took you aback or made you say, "Wait a second"?
Well, I learned very quickly that Germans are not sarcastic. That was hard for me at first, for sure.
Okay.
That took me aback.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the way that Germans are is a lot different from in the US, and
Mhm.
it took a while to kind of get used to not smiling at someone in the hallways because people don't do that here.
Mhm.
And Germans are just a lot more honest.
Mhm.
They're not so open with their emotions. If they see something, they say something,
Mhm.
and it's not sort of hiding or trying to make you feel good. It's just very honest. So it took me some time to kind of get used to people um just saying things to me or to anyone really. They're just very direct. They're like, that shirt doesn't look good on you. And then, okay, cool.
Great.
Well, now, but then it also makes you realize, like, when you get a compliment, then they actually mean it,
Yeah.
it really makes you feel good when someone comes up and says, "Oh, your German is really good," or "Your German's gotten so much better." So it took me some time to get used to that, but overall it's really good. And yeah, in the long run, it's hard to get used to, but it's not so bad.
Well, that's good. It seems like it was a transition, but not one that was impossible, which is fantastic. For United States exchange students who may be coming to Germany next school year, do you have any tips for them to make friends with the German students they encounter?
So I would say just don't give up because I know at first it may feel so discouraging to kind of have people just not talk to you after school. But just keep going. It gets better. Also text people. A lot of Germans, if you text them and ask for them to hang out, then they're totally okay with it. Oftentimes you just have to take that first step. Um, and if you're having trouble doing it in German, or they're only speaking to you in English and you want to speak in German, you also just have to stay persistent. Um, Oftentimes, Germans, they'll realize you just have to be very honest about it, open, say, I would like to speak German. I'd like to go out for a coffee with you, or yeah, just be yourself and keep persistent.
Perfect. Okay. So you had to overcome the disappointing beginning with the host family when you first arrived, of course, learning German while you're there, making friends. Were there any other challenges that you overcame that helped you grow, say, personally or academically while you're there?
I mean, there have been a lot of just small challenges. I wouldn't say that there's been anything besides those things that have been like
Mhm.
very big standing out to me, but they're always just the small daily challenges or um yeah, I would maybe the other biggest thing is like getting through some days that where you're homesick or getting through like adjusting to a different family. But overall, it's just been sort of smaller daily goals to get through or weekly goals, just yeah, stuff like that.
With homesickness in particular, how did you overcome that and learn to deal with that?
So it's definitely just something that, at least for me personally, I had never experienced before. So it's totally different. I spent a lot of time talking to other exchange students and asking for tips from them, reaching out, just spending more time with my host family to kind of get that feeling of being at home. My host family would sometimes buy things from the US to kind of like, some food, peanut butter, stuff like that. Nerds gummy clusters, we
Oh,
figured out are my host sister's favorite. And just
great
kind
choice.
of yeah, kind of having some things, that remind you of home
Mhm.
are it's very helpful, and just reaching out to people. A lot of people understand that feeling, and just being able to reach out was really helpful.
Wait, go back to peanut butters. Is peanut butter not a thing in Germany?
It is, but you'd be
Okay.
surprised how many families don't have it. It's
Huh.
in the grocery stores. It's not too
Mhm,
hard to find, but
mhm.
it's definitely not a common household's good from what I've seen.
Interesting. Okay. I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Yeah.
Um, so, on the topic of food, since we're here, is there a certain meal or a snack that you've had in Germany that you consider your absolute favorite?
Ooh, that's a really hard question. I wasn't expecting to try so much food, but I have
Mhm.
tried, like it's just crazy how much I've tried. I
Yeah.
think on a daily basis, I eat so much German bread, and honestly, it's really, really good. I was already a bread person, but I
Mhm.
didn't realize, like, how good bread could actually be. So I'm a German bread lover. Um, I also think just fruits and vegetables in Germany are really, really good, and I've found that I like them a lot more here.
Yeah.
Um, I've also tried, white asparagus, which was I that's a new seasonal thing. It comes with spring,
Y
but I had never heard of white asparagus before, and
Oh,
it's
me
really
either.
good. Yeah, so
Cool.
those are kind of my daily favorites at the moment. Yeah.
Well, future exchange students who may be listening, if you're going to Germany, make sure you jot these down so you can give them a shot. White asparagus, especially. I'd love to hear more about that in particular. Is the taste similar? How similar is it to like the asparagus that we are familiar with?
I mean, I would say it's similar, but white asparagus is sort of thicker and it's almost more watery.
Oh,
It feels almost like a leek, sort of like that
okay.
texture almost.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
Sounds like it. Is there anything about your time studying abroad that has surprised you or was more like unexpected?
To be honest, a lot of it was just sort of not what I was expecting.
Mhm.
I think just how fast you can pick up on the language was really, unexpected for me. I sort of thought that I would be leaving Germany with a really basic understanding, but I've really picked up on a lot, and I think that's really cool. Also, just the connections that you make here are so strong, especially with other exchange students. I feel like it's a huge family, and I heard people say that before exchange, and I was like, "I don't believe them, that's not true."
Mhm.
But it's really feels like family.
So cool. Making family connections all around the world. It's so awesome. And so I know unfortunately your time is coming to an end over in Germany and you'll have to coming back home soon. Do you have plans to keep in contact with your German friends and host families or to maybe even return and visit?
For sure, for sure. Actually, my host mom was an exchange student in the US with my great aunt and great
No
uncle.
way.
Yeah, so we have some family connection already, and we're hoping to plan that sometime she either comes to visit us or I go with my family to come visit here. Um, and yeah, I mean, I will 100% be keeping in touch with people that I know on exchange. I'm hoping for sort of weekly video calls to kind of keep up my German. And then with other American exchange students that I've met, I'm really hoping that I can meet up with them on sometime when we're back. But yeah, it's a little harder with the US distance and
Mm.
everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you having some of the international exchange students who come here, they don't quite realize how big the United States is. And there's We've heard some funny stories about people going to like, Universal Studios and then saying, "Oh, can I be? I'm planning to be, and I'll go to LA. I'll be there by tonight," and having to explain why you absolutely will not get there. Were there any sort of expectations or ideas that your German friends had about the United States that you had to explain to them and say that no, that's not true.
For sure. I mean, I think there are always sort of a lot of typical American stereotypes in other countries, especially because of Hollywood and everything like that. I get a lot of questions about school,
Mhm.
just kind of like, "Do you actually have lockers? Are all Americans really stupid and don't know geography?" Actually, one of the things I made sure to do before I went to Germany was I started learning more geography just so I knew. Um, yeah, so I get a lot of questions about that. Also, a lot of questions about food in the US, just in
Mhm.
general, because I know that's always a big topic. Do you really eat fast food every day? Um, Also interesting. Yeah, and I mean, I've just been trying to help break some of the stereotypes. I mean, the US is so big, as you said before, and it's really hard to think of the US as one single person.
Right.
So I'm trying to show the people in my school and in my town that yes, I'm American, but I'm also my own person, and that's kind of like not everybody in the US is like me, and
Mm.
I'm not like everybody else in the US, and it's that's okay. And some stereotypes, but a
Yeah.
lot of people are not.
And that's what being an ambassador is all about.
That's for sure.
Has your perspective of the United States changed since being on exchange?
I think so. I mean, I think definitely in sort of a size perspective, I'm already sort of trying to make plans with friends like, "Oh, wow, it really is 26 hours to get there. I can't do that." Um, so definitely I'm seeing the US as, wow, it really is that big. And just in general, it's really an odd experience to see your country from an international perspective, and it's hard to pinpoint a single idea, but you just kind of get to see how other people see your country, and it's just completely mind changing, not in a bad way, but it's just really interesting to see how people think about your country.
Other countries and maybe travel. It seems like you and your host family have done quite a bit of traveling together. Where are some of the places that they've shown you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Um, so we just finished sort of a cruise that we did, which was to the Netherlands, Belgium, France, and the UK. And that was really cool, just kind of getting to see some other places in Europe. And we also did a ski trip. They do a yearly ski trip down to very southern Germany on the
Mm.
Austrian border, and we went and did that. I did 3 days of skiing. My first time ever skiing was really interesting. And then we did sort of a day trip to the tallest point in Germany and then walked over to Austria, which was also an experience getting to walk over a border.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so we've done some travels. We've also done some travels sort of in Germany, nothing too terribly far away because with small kids it's pretty hard. But yeah, I've just gotten to see a lot of Germany. Yeah.
So cool. And I'm thinking about one of your photos that you had sent me, and I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at, and I don't know how to pronounce the word, but I see a lot of streamers and what looks like balloons in the picture. What the heck is going on there?
Yes. So that is called Abistreich, and that is the 12th graders' last day of school ever.
Oh.
Um It's the day before they have to start their preparation, like their final preparations for their Abitur, so their big end of year exams.
Mhm.
And they take that day to sort of do a senior prank, basically. Um, and it's really, really crazy. They stand outside the door with lipstick and hair color. And when you walk in, they draw on your face and they spray color in your hair. And I mean, you can say no technically, but like nobody says no.
Yeah.
Um, and so everybody in the entire school has lipstick, mustaches, and eyebrows written on their forehead. Um, and then at the very towards the end of the day, everybody lines up in like the big hall and all of them dump their papers out just everywhere.
Oh,
And so
cool.
along with the hundreds of balloons and decorations that they already have out, there's now just I would say probably 60 to 100 people's like backpacks of paper. Um, so it's crazy. And it was definitely one of those times where I was just like, I would never see this in the US. This would not happen. Um,
No, I've heard of like senior class pranks, but not on that level.
yeah,
I
it's
don't
crazy.
I don't know if we could get away with that here in the United States.
No, I'm not sure anybody would like that much.
So, I'm assuming we're probably not bringing that custom back to the United States with you, but are there any customs or things that you picked up while you were in Germany that you plan to continue when you're back home?
That's also a really hard question. I would like to continue my tradition of eating. I'm gonna bring up bread for a second time this interview.
All right, bread talk. Here we go.
Um, Germans always have Abendbrot, which is basically just evening bread. And I would really like to continue that tradition. No fancy meals for dinner, just kind of bread and very simple bread and vegetables and things like that. I really love that. I think I would also like to take back the sort of German work culture where it's more just thinking of yourself and not working too hard, like getting the work done, of course,
Yeah.
but also giving yourself time to sort of relax and
Yeah.
not stress about things. And yeah, I think that that's really good. Also, being punctual. I have learned I cannot relate to anything anymore. I have to be right on time.
Oh, that's a great thing to pick up on.
Yeah.
That's something I should probably take from German culture personally. So, um, do you have any advice for other high school students who may be considering going on exchange?
I mean, just go for it. I know a lot of people, myself included, have some anxiety or are worried about it or think that, oh, maybe it's not worth it, but it is 100% worth it. I have learned so much this year. And yeah, there might be some bad times, but it's like that in like at home too. And it's so much cooler to be able to experience another country and another language and get to meet people from all over the world and just getting out of your comfort zone. That's just, it's so amazing.
What's next for Margot?
Well, yeah. Um, I'm gonna enjoy the next 1.5 months that I have left. I'll spend a lot of time with my host family and hopefully get to know people better. Have sort of my end of year parties and say goodbye. And then I'm going to enjoy a nice, calm summer vacation. Um, and then hopefully just sort of readjust to the US and go. I'm starting a new school. So yeah, gonna do it all over again. Think that this year has given me the bravery to start that. Um, yeah, and then just, hopefully share the exchange message and get more people to join in.
So that's quite a big plan you've got, and that's fantastic. Here's a challenging question, I'm sure. If you could sum up your experience in one word, what would it be?
That is a really challenging question. Oh my God. Honestly, I mean, it's kind of 2 words, but I would say life-changing, you know? It's just been so, I've learned so much, and I would 100% not be the person that I am today if I hadn't done this year. And I just think, yeah, it's life-changing. It really is. I can't stress that enough. I mean, just do it. It's so cool.
What is a memory or a story that really sticks out to you as one of your favorites that we haven't had the chance to talk about?
So this might not sound to most people, it might not sound as like the most fun memory, but to me, it was the first time that I really felt like an exchange student, like a successful exchange student,
Mhm.
was when I had to travel to Munich for my ACT,
Mhm.
which isn't a typical thing that people do during exchange. Most people save it, but
Mhm.
I had to do it for my new school. So it was during our ski trip, and I went to Munich alone for this. Um, except the bus system was wrong, and I ended up getting on the wrong bus to a completely different town, and I was stuck in the middle of nowhere, um, without a bus. The bus only came once an hour, and I had 20
No.
minutes to get to my ACT. And in that moment, I was able to go up to a random German and ask for help. And I waved down a random person in the road and asked for help. And I managed to get to my test in time. And that was really the first time that I felt like I could actually do things by myself in Germany because I was able to get myself from the middle of nowhere to this testing site because even though things went wrong, it worked out, and it made me yeah, it was stressful, but it was really great. Yeah.
I can't even imagine being in that situation, but
It was
the
yeah.
that is such quick thinking, flagging somebody down and asking for help like that. That's wow, that is not a story I ever expected to hear. That is crazy wild. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was I had seen before this guy out in his garden, and he seemed friendly enough, so I was like, "Can can you please help me?" And this was all in German because he could not speak any English. Yeah, and just it was an experience for sure.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is a wild and wonderful story to end our time on. To parents listening, probably doesn't happen to everybody, thankfully, but thankfully Margot had the foresight and the resilience and bravery to find her way out of that situation and at her testing site safely. But I want to thank you so much, Margot, for your time today and sharing your story and your resilience and your absolutely life changing moments.
Thank you so much. It was really a great time.
And if people want to follow along after your story is done, where can they find you?
Okay, so I'm on Instagram. I have a public account called Margot in Deutschland.
Mhm.
And there, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you so much. And that is going to do it for this episode of Life Exchange Stories of Understanding. I've been your host, Kelsey Ross. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, bye. Listen to Life Exchange Stories of Understanding now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.